Aloha and good evening. My name is Jürgen Steinmetz, joining you from eTurbo News in Honolulu, Hawaii, together with Hawaii News Online and livestream.travel. Today we have some breaking news, and we're talking to Dr. Peter Tarlow in Texas from Safer Tourism, and also
Dr. Garth Morgan,
World Tourism Network. We have a guest Peter will introduce, and we're going to be talking about the new strain of the COVID coronavirus that apparently surfaced in parts of Europe, specifically in the UK, and now also in South Africa. And this new virus actually, or this new strain of the virus, triggered for the UK to pretty much be isolated. When London wakes up this morning, there won't be any flights hardly anywhere. The United States still has service, but Canada just announced that they stopped all services. Most of the EU countries are stopping services, and I understand the EU Parliament is meeting this morning to cut off UK altogether. The same counts for South Africa. And Peter, what's going on?
Well, I think you're bringing up some really interesting points. We're going to be speaking with Dr. Garth Morgan, who is a specialist in contagious diseases. And he's also, if I'm not mistaken, a member of the faculty here at Texas A&M University in medicine. Most importantly, he happens to be my own personal physician. So I have 3 levels that I get to deal with him. Especially the world of travel, up until this morning, we kind of had the idea that we were starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then all of a sudden, somebody shut off the light. And once again, we're seeing some strange, I knew things early this morning. I read the European press and the Middle Eastern media, read both Israel and Saudi Arabia were closing all their borders and not allowing anybody to come in by flights, unless you had a Israeli or Saudi Arabian passport. And they immediately singled out England, Saudi Arabia, England, South Africa, Denmark, and Holland. So I said to myself, "Ooh, something strange is going on." I wasn't sure quite what it was at 6:30 in the morning, but it was clear that as the day developed, we needed to do a very quick program. I want to make it very clear that Dr. Morgan has, like all of us, minimal information in the sense that we don't know all the details. The British don't know them yet, but we're going to try to do the most logical discussion we can with the information that we have. So, Garth, if you wouldn't mind just kind of giving us a little bit of some of what, if you know anything, or should we be afraid of this new strain? Is it dangerous? Is it, we were kind of hoping that the vaccines were going to be helpful. I was going to call your office tomorrow to find out when I was welcome to get it. And should we be in panic mode or not? Maybe just to start with that.
Yeah, I don't think we need to be in panic mode. I think we need to be in judicial concern mode. It's still an upper respiratory virus. The virus spreads from contact with our hands that then accidentally wipe to our face. That's what the masks really prevent us from doing. The next way is if we have the virus and we cough it out, we're going to spread it to the next people that are in a close proximity, and they can breathe that virus in that way, and it gets in and touches our mucous membranes. So number 1, you wash your hands and you don't touch your face. What we do know about this new virus is that it is quicker to transmit, so it's more communicable, somewhere on the realm of 70% more communicable from what I saw through the BBC today. But they do think that the vaccine, the markers that they're using in the vaccine will still be effective against this newer strain. The newer strain is a mutation of the previous strain. So maybe they haven't come up with a new name for this yet, but it's still the COVID virus.
COVID-20.
Yeah, right, COVID-20. So washing your hands, making sure that public surfaces, you try not to touch them and then touch your face. So if there is an elevator button, a banister, a doorknob, you try not to touch that and unless you have some hand sanitizer, you can clean that off, or you make sure you have your mask on so you don't accidentally transmit from whatever was on there to your mask.
We were for a while, everybody was using rubber gloves, and then we kind of stopped doing that. Do we need to go back to that again?
I'm not sure, because if the tendency would be to wear the glove and then you forget that you have the glove on.
Yeah.
And now it's no different but than not having the glove. So if you have the glove on, you still have to, I've seen people wash their hands with the gloves on, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But you still have to, the way the virus gets in us is
Yes.
through our nose, mouth, and eyes.
Yes.
And there's
So
two different type of disposable masks in the stand, and I got this from a friend of mine who owns a pharmacy, and his wife is also a physician. Apparently, there is an FFP2 mask and an OP, like the regular blue mask that many people wear. But there's also a different type of mask which covers, I guess, I don't know,
A larger part of the face.
FFP2, but I don't know if, you know, this is a German impression or what impression, but he was telling me that the mask we are wearing is protecting others. It's not really protecting yourself that much. And the other mask, the FFP2, is protecting yourself and is protecting others. You know the difference?
Well, it depends on what you're expecting the mask to do. So what we are using, the vast majority of people I see are what we call a surgical mask.
That's what
Those masks, yeah, those masks do not have a small enough aperture opening in the material to prevent a virus from coming through the material. So what that mask is really meant to do is to slow down your cough. So if we were to cough or sneeze, our spittle will go 15 to 20 feet.
Yes.
So that mask you wear prevents that from going more than about a foot. That's number one. Number two is it prevents you from touching that elevator button or the banister and then accidentally touching your face. So those are the two things that those surgical masks can do. Now, there are better masks that do have a small enough aperture to prevent a virus from moving through. And that's the minimum mask that does that is called the N95. And there are other masks smaller than those. And there are masks that have these big filter sides on. They look like a painter's mask.
Yes.
So there are plenty of masks out there, but the surgical mask is the most easy, cheapest one to sell and produce. And it's not that good for the virus. It's about touching your face.
Yeah. Well, if we get back to tourism, I guess there's three issues that we should chat with you very quickly about. One is a lot of people are afraid to travel, especially on an airplane. The CDC has said not to do it. The airlines are saying to do it. It seems to me there are really two parts of that. One is being on the plane itself in the filter system, and the other is getting to the terminal and standing on line, and therefore the lack of social distancing while you're getting on the plane. Should we be, at this point, reticent to fly? Are you aware of what's going on with the airlines? Or when we went to Washington for Thanksgiving, we drove. It was a pain, but we drove it.
I can't tell you I'm exactly up to date with the latest things with the airlines, but I do know that they have reassured us. I mean, I checked with them when we were going to travel here for the Thanksgiving holiday or right afterwards. And they were telling us that they had changed their policies of how frequently they're changing their air filters. Right. And they've actually, in some planes and companies, have upgraded their filtration systems to try to handle this, because this isn't the only virus that we deal with. So it's going to help with other things too. But I can't tell you that being in a tube with 100 other people, eventually our air circulates through with everybody. So, you know, COVID's only one of a million things out there we can experience. It just happens to be the most frequent thing right now.
So probably right now, people need to be a little bit reticent, especially if long haul travel. In other words, travel where you're on a plane for 8 or 9 hours.
Right. And especially the most vulnerable. I mean, if you are 65 or older, in the United States anyway, that is 75 to 80% of the bad cases are all in that older group.
Right. Right. How
So
about,
you
should
really
we
got to
be,
think, do I need to go on this trip?
pardon?
I said, if you're of that age group, you really have to, like you said, be reticent. Do I really have to go on this trip? Do I have to go on this plane? And then maybe you need to check into some of these other, let's say you have to go, then you need to check into some of these better masks and better systems and have your own sanitary processes, either wipes or the cleaning supplies.
The thing, I believe tomorrow we're going to see a big hullabaloo in the United States. So far, the United States has not stopped people coming in from England, but we're one of the few countries that hasn't done that. Canada, as Jürgen just said, has stopped people coming in from travel to England. Europe has certainly done it. Matter of fact, they've locked people in the airports in Germany. They ran out of hotel space. I read the Israeli papers every morning, and they've said anybody coming from England is taken on a special bus and put into a hotel for 2 weeks quarantine, no questions asked, and you can only get in if you have an Israeli passport. If you have a foreign passport, they won't let you in the country. Should we, in this country, be starting to become concerned about this? Should we be blocking people coming in from England, or
I don't think so.
are we overreacting?
I think it could be an overreaction. In the last year at this time, or in the next few months of earlier this year, we didn't have any way of testing for this. We have testing everywhere now. We've got so much testing, we now have a home test that you can do. So I'm not sure we have to block everybody. I think anybody coming in needs to be tested.
Yes.
And if we can corral folks to find out who has this, who doesn't, and maybe the airlines can require you to get a test before you get on the plane. I mean, they're all the rapid tests that have you an answer in 10 minutes to 15 minutes.
Yes.
Shouldn't be that hard.
Yes.
I mean, but if you really look at exactly this testing is taking place in Europe, specifically in the Middle East. If you look at Dubai, UAE, you cannot get on an Emirates flight without being tested. And regardless, it triggered on a weekend, on a Saturday, Sunday, when everyone is in Christmas mode, to change everything in Europe to it. I mean, a day before, on a Sunday, in Germany, for example, the Ministry of Transportation stopped all traffic, train, plane, everything between the UK and Germany. The same is followed by most European countries. So something must have happened that triggered this thing, you know, because even a day before, the British Prime Minister said, okay, we want to relax it a little bit so people can celebrate Christmas. And he reversed 180 degrees less than 24 hours later.
I'm not sure exactly what precipitated that major change.
Yeah, it's this new strain of the virus. And what you said, that's what I read also in the paper, and I watched BBC. So it's probably the same information we have here, that it's 70% more contagious than the other virus, and that most cases in London right now are cases with this new strain. So, and do we really want this strain to land in New York or in Washington or in Houston or in Los Angeles right now?
I mean, I have another question on that. Scientifically, their assumption is that the mutation happened in one person and it spread. If the mutation can happen, the mutation possibly could happen anywhere. So we could have our own mutation happening in the United States at any time. We don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
So in other words, under that assumption, blocking people from coming would not necessarily help, because you could have a mutation in England and at the same time a parallel mutation going on in the United States, or mutations, you know, not necessarily even one mutation. And I guess that's going to be part of the, you know, political issue also, I think, in medicine, is not only the science, but the perception of the science, and how quickly is the public right now is very panicky. And how do we balance that? I'm sorry.
So what we can do is, number one, we know we have the vaccine coming out. This newer strain, apparently what they've shown so far with this mutation, it's still susceptible to the current vaccine. So it's not like they need a whole new vaccine.
Right.
I would like to see us have a conversation with the medical professionals who are the real experts with this virus, and that's the veterinarians. They've been dealing with this coronaviruses with multiple animals for the many decades. They have vaccines for dogs, cows, horses, cats, all kinds. They are the true coronavirus experts. I think we need to start tapping into their knowledge.
So maybe instead of Dr. Fauci needs to speak to a veterinarian?
Well, there is actually the Surgeon General of Veterinary Medicine
Yes.
for the United States. Maybe that's the person that needs to come up.
Yes, that's a really interesting point, because we assume that it's the American, or in this country, the American medical profession, or whatever country you happen to be, that are the ultimate experts. And you're really saying there are people that our medical profession can be learning from, which is the veterinarian, who are also medicine doctors. I don't want to take their degree away, but it's a different species doctor,
Right.
not a human species.
I mean, there are over 400 kinds of coronaviruses. They're all in the animals. And so this one, what we call zoonotically, jumped over to the human.
Right.
But the veterinarians have been dealing with this for many years. So I think we would be wise to tap into their expertise.
Yeah. Maybe one last question. Obviously there's a big debate in the United States. They're very proud now that 60% of the public says they will consider taking the vaccine. What words do you have about the vaccine? Do you think it's safe? Is it not safe? Will you give it to me? Will you?
So number one, the vaccine works. It's a 90 to 95% across the different 4 vaccines that it provides protection. So number one, it works. Number two, the way it's being made is the same way that we're making flu vaccines, the same way we're making several other vaccines. So it's a particle. You're not even getting the whole organism. There's no way for this to cause infection. So it's all about tweaking your immune system to see the particle on the surface of the virus, and your immune system attacks it. So I think it's a very safe mechanism. If you are allergic to the components that make the vaccine, yes, all the latest things say this is such a good, powerful immune enhancing system that if you are allergic to the vaccine components or allergic to egg, if you are allergic to a flu vaccine, you should not take this vaccine because you're going to react more. But yes, I think that you should get it. I'm going to get it when I get my turn. It's coming up in the next week or so.
Yes. Yes. Well, I'll be there to get it.
I think maybe for the information for our readers, I read a study also from Europe that those that are taking this vaccine, they should expect 78% should expect to feel a little bit of pain, where you stick the needle in. Well, I guess that's normal. 75% they may feel tired or exhausted after this for a little bit. 67% may suffer headaches. 25% of muscle ache. 17% may develop a fever, and 17% have some pain in their legs, joint pain. But these are all the immediate side effects, I guess, that are known. Or are you aware of any other side effects someone should expect?
No, that's what I've heard too. The vast majority of the effect of the vaccination is a local effect where it's injected in your arm. So it's actually, if you've had a pertussis or a Tdap vaccine recently or a flu shot, it's a similar type reaction. You can get all the things that you just mentioned. And the most common one is a localized reaction at the injection site, headache, fatigue, muscle ache. So those are the most common things.
Those seem to me pretty minimal in comparison to being in the hospital with coronavirus.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. It's a little inconvenient for a day or two, and then you're done.
Yeah, that makes sense. Jürgen, any other questions that we think we should talk about before this breaks tomorrow?
No, I think I want to thank you for joining us on the Sunday evening. And we really appreciate it. And I think our readers and listeners and those that are watching us live right now and later, I appreciate it. And I hope to stay healthy. And we can talk to you again real soon.
Yes.
For our readers, I wanted to remind everyone we have a number of events coming up for World Tourism Network. Just go to wtn.travel, click on the blue banner or on the red link for upcoming events. And we will always break our program for breaking news like this, so stay tuned. We may expect another interview a little bit later tonight, our time in the US, or this morning European time from Europe, and we'll announce it as soon as we get confirmation. Other than that, I wanted to thank both of you and hope we talk to you again very soon.
Yes. And Dr. Morgan, we will be putting this up on YouTube and in Facebook, etc. Tomorrow morning, I will send you the link so you can see what you said.
Excellent. Thank you all very much.
Thank
Have
you.
a good evening.
Have a good
Stay
evening.
safe.
Bye-bye. And have a very
Okay.
happy holiday.
Yes, same to you. Happy
Yeah, and
Hanukkah and happy Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. And
Merry
let's
Christmas.
hope 2021 is safer and healthier than 2020.
Definitely. For everyone, yes.
Good night, Jürgen.
Good night. Bye-bye.